Hello and welcome everybody. Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm going to show you how to make your input data field to become a dynamic input data field, which is you can change the record returned from the input data using the where condition in the SQL statement of the input data itself. And let's see how to accomplish this. Actually, I'm going to use patch macro to accomplish this task. And now let's see how to accomplish this. First, drag and drop input data tool. I'm going to connect to MySQL. I have a table here called food sales. I'm going to drag and drop it. And this is a SQL statement for it. Select asterisk from food sales. Click on OK and let's us see what's data in it. As you can see, ID, order date, region, city, category, product, quantity, unit price, total price. What I'm going to do is to make this input data tool return data dynamically using the where condition, and I'm expecting a list of IDs that inserted in the input data tool to return specific list of IDs. Okay. How to do this? First of all, we need to convert this new workflow to become a batch macro from interface. Now, first we drag and drop macro output to be our output for the batch macro and control parameter. And before we continue our work, we need to add to adjust the SQL query to add a template for the where condition. Let's see where ID, the column, equal 1. And click on OK and drag this queue to this icon here. Now you can see the action tool to update our query. From the action tool, click on this, which displays a select statement. We need to replace a specific string which will be the 1. So each time one value will be replaced. Okay. Okay. Now let's save our macro. Dynamic input tool and click on save. And now open new workflow to use this macro. From the input, I will drag and drop text input and I will add manually like 3 IDs and name it ID. And please, we need to adjust the data type for this to become integer, because the ID is integer in the table. And now add our macros and choose the field ID to the macro. Now this workflow passing the 3 IDs 1 and 5 and 7 to the batch macro, which expecting the IDs, and will run the where condition for each ID 1 and 5 and 7 and concatenate together, merge together or union together to return the data. Click on run. As you can see from macro, the data returned for ID 157. So you now dynamically can return data from database using this macro batch macro. Yani you apply the filter on the query itself, and as you can see, the returned result it filtered by ID 1 and 5 and 7. That means that batch macro run 3 times and merging or union the data each time returned from the batch macro to complete this table. Actually, I want to make uh, macro, but يعني using more efficient way to filter the data. So here, instead of now this macro is already working good, but يعني if you have a lot of data, let's say million of records, and you have a list, a very big list of IDs, like 10,000 list of IDs. This batch macro will run يعني about 10,000 times for the IDs. So let's make it smarter. يعني let's make it more efficient. So in the where condition, I'm going to change my query to be in instead of equal. Okay. Okay. And here in my workflow, I'm going to prepare the IDs to be like like we write this 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma 5, comma 6 to run the batch macro only once. Okay, only once. No need to run the macros a lot of times. Okay. Now return to our workflow. So my first step was here, and I changed the select statement to become in instead of equal. Again, I'm checking my update. It will only replace the one. So in my workflow now, I need to prepare these IDs to become in one row concatenated by a comma. So I'm going to take this to copy, and for the select statement, now I'm going to make the type to be string, to concatenate it using the summarize tool. Adding summarize tool, and for the IDs, click on string, and click on concatenate. Now, before I'm adding the macro, I'm going to show you how will be the return value. This second workflow. As you can see, concat ID 1, 5, 7, and now add the macro again. This is our macro, and need to adjust the column, assign the column to the macro, and click on run. Okay, no column returns. Output connection was not. What is the problem here? Okay, we didn't save it. Sorry, we didn't save this macro. I need to save it. Okay, and now it will, yes, has changed. Okay, click on OK and run again. Click on OK. Now you can see the dataset returned, but this batch macro run once, and this batch macro run 3 times because 3 rows, and here only 1 row returned concatenated like this. So this is smarter way to accomplish your dynamic query. I hope you understand my macro and my workflow, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you very much. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.